What's up, Brad? Welcome to Dad Edge, man.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Somebody grab your attention as we got started.
Well, I just wanted my door to be closed so someone doesn't pop in.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, hey, dude.
Here at my business, I have an open door policy, which means if the door is open, you can come in. So
nice.
Shut it.
How many people you got working for you?
About 83 altogether.
Nice, man. And this wasn't always so. You weren't always you didn't have an empire quite this large back in the day.
Well, it depends on what day. I've had this company for 20 years, but we didn't always have 83 people.
Right.
And before that, I ran teams of people for other companies. But so I've always kind of had teams and whatnot, but never 83 of my own. No.
That's pretty amazing, man. That's an accomplishment. Hey, listen, I always like to start out the show with just some fun questions, just kind of like lightning round, just kind of get us warmed up. So what do you like to do outside of work? What's a hobby that you have that just brings you joy?
You know, there's only one I can think of. The other day I was literally saying, I've got to get more hobbies. I've got to get more things that interest me. Usually I like to just chill out, believe it or not. I run so fast that, my off time is literally spent chilling, not thinking, not deciding, and not really doing much. However, fishing, I love fishing.
And do you have a favorite spot that you like to fish?
Really, mainly lakes and rivers. I don't really do deep sea fishing. That's work. But there's a place in Utah called Panguitch, which is, you're catching humongous trout. I like to do a little fishing in the rivers in Oregon, the Umpqua and the McKenzie.
Steelhead, like grabbing those.
That's right.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Rivers.
Yeah, man. I grew up trout fishing with my grandfather. So I love that. What's the biggest fish you ever caught?
I caught a huge sailfish, swordfish.
Yeah.
Down in Cabo one time. I forget how heavy it was. It was huge. That's really what kind of finished it for me with the deep sea fishing, because you don't really fish. They cast out the lines, and when one goes off, they hand you the rod and you have to do all the work. And my shoulder was dead and it damn near pulled me in twice. And it took hours, and I literally had it was work. It was ridiculous. So that was the biggest fish I ever caught. As far as what I like to catch, steelhead's about as big as I like to get.
Nice. Yeah. They put up a good fight, pretty good eating, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I want to fight that I can hand the pole to my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to get yanked into the damn river. I'm not looking for sturgeon.
Right. No jaws on the line.
No, man. If they get that big and powerful, man, I just let them be.
I hear you. What about sports growing up? Second question. Favorite sport growing up?
Football and baseball.
All right. Positions.
Tight end, second string quarterback, and then, baseball, first base, shortstop, center field, just wherever they stuck me. It's crazy too, because like in baseball, I either hit a home run or I struck out. That was the only thing there. Football, I was really good. I was very fast. I didn't know how fast I was. My parents weren't real into sports, so I didn't really understand how good I was at sports. So I didn't really stick with it. I didn't have great parenting when it comes to sticking with the sports. But I was fast. I ran a 4.40.
Dang, that is fast, man. Wow.
Yeah, that was in junior high and high school. So
wow. So if you had your choice, if a professional team came to you and said, "Hey, you can either choose baseball or football to do for the rest of your life," which one would it be?
Baseball.
All right. Why is that?
No salary cap, less injuries,
less concussions.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even pick baseball. I mean, if it was any sport, I'd probably pick golf now.
There you go. Yeah.
I like to go give Tiger Woods an ass kicking.
All right. So final question. If you had an opportunity to sit with yourself at 18 years of age, you being the age you are now, and you were able to sit across from yourself at 18 years old and have a 1 hour conversation with yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
My advice would be to start reading voraciously on a regular basis, nonfiction self-help books. Read. And then the next one would be pretty much don't worry about what other people think, and invest money more wisely. I spent a lot of time spending money trying to impress people. Matter of fact, if I had all that money back, it would be impressive. But it didn't really do the job. It was a waste of money. I was worried more about what other people thought of me than what I thought of me. So I would tell my 18-year-old self, to stop worrying about what other people think about you and worry about what you think about you. Fall in love with yourself, build value in yourself, and then focus on just seeking information. It took me probably till I was 45 to realize the value of information. It was, believe it or not, I'm successful in spite of myself.
And what books come to mind that were just game changers for you?
Well, the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, that's a great book. He's got several out now. The main one, How to Win Friends and Influence People with Dale Carnegie. You hear all the normal ones, Think and Grow Rich, but once you start getting into it, you've got the 48 Laws of Power. You've got, Robert Cialdini writes some great books on selling, persuasion, influence. You've got, believe it or not, like Immanuel Kant. Most people don't understand, this fella here, Immanuel Kant. That's heavy duty stuff, man.
That is, man. It hasn't even been opened yet. So I know you just got that. You must have just got that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's known by mostly the scholars. But if someone said, "Hey, I can only read one book," Psycho-Cybernetics, The Magic of Thinking Big. Man, there's just so many. I'd have to open my phone.
Yeah.
Alchemy, The Alchemist.
Yeah.
My new book coming out called The Hard Way. That's going to be a classic. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, not to worry, guys. We're going to have the link for the pre-order in the show. So make sure you guys pick up a copy of that. That's awesome, man. Okay, so let's go back to your childhood a little bit. Let's talk about little Brad back in the day. What was your relationship, since this is a father show, what was your relationship with your own dad like?
My dad was kind of a children should be seen and not heard type of dad. He worked hard. He was a little bit entrepreneurial for a little brief spell, got in a situation and kind of gave that up, went back to being, blue collar. Came home, tired a lot, didn't really, pay much attention to us, especially me, but I think all of us. I was the youngest in the family, with one remaining with my real mom, because my dad and mom got divorced when I was 2. So my mom apparently got left with all of us. She put 4 of us in a foster home to get, shipped out, and kept the brand new baby, which is my little brother. So my grandmother basically told my dad, "You better go get your damn kids." So he came right when we were getting shipped off to different families and swooped us up, brought us with him. So there was 4 of us, and I was the youngest. So I can't really tell how much. I was too young to kind of really understand what was going on back then. I was only 2, but really he was children should be seen and not heard type of dad. He didn't come to any sporting events. He came to one sporting event my whole life. He didn't give me much, life lessons. He kind of just let us figure things out for ourselves. We always had the basics, and, he drank a lot, but I don't remember a bad childhood. I remember just I would think it was normal for me, but just a normal blue collar family. Not a lot of affection, not a lot of emotion. You know what I mean? I didn't get hugs, and I didn't get told I was loved, and I didn't get encouragement, and I didn't get any of that. But I knew he did. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I just want to take a second here and acknowledge and appreciate what you just said, because I think any person listening would probably let you off the hook if you had a grudge, if there was some resentment. But it sounds like what you're really saying is like, look, my childhood was what it was. It was normal to me. And, he probably did the best he could with the information that he had.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
awesome.
he made sure we didn't die. He made sure we had clothes. He was not a rich individual. He worked hard, and he did what he could. He didn't have the right information. That's for sure.
Yeah. And is he still with us?
No.
When did he pass away?
Like 3 years ago.
Okay. If there were some life lessons, and whether the life lessons showed up as like, here's what you do and here's what you not do, because those are both beautiful lessons, right? We can either learn from the example of what we don't want to replicate, or we can also learn from the examples that we want to replicate. But let's steal for a minute from your childhood. What were some things that you experienced that have just incredibly served you today?
Well, I think being, left alone. I think too many people over dramatize their childhood. I was left alone. Nobody loved me. Nobody gave me any affection, which is all true. But I think that is what taught me the most. It taught me how to survive. It taught me how to fend for myself and figure shit out. Like one time, my parents had a let's call it a little newspaper in a small town. Well, they wanted to start getting people to pick up more newspapers, so they did a treasure hunt. Well, they didn't tell me where the treasure was, but I'd every day go get the paper and see what the clue was, and I found the treasure, and I wasn't supposed to. So literally all the adults in town were looking for this treasure for 6 weeks. I found it. I come running in with the certificate where I found it and all that. And my dad basically said, what are you doing? You're not even supposed to be doing that. Snatched it out of my hand, went and put it back and told me, you're not allowed to win that. So lessons like that just kind of made me really independent and resourceful. So, if he would have coddled me and, I might have ended up, playing in the NFL, or, who knows where I would have ended up if he would have been what I call Beaver Cleaver type of dad. But I think resourcefulness is what he taught me by leaving me alone.
Yeah, I think that's a really big lesson right there, as far as because we're talking to a huge audience of fathers who listen to the show. And I can tell you, obviously, the majority of them have come from backgrounds that probably weren't the best experiences, but you've been able to take, obviously, some of the things that you had experienced growing up and have really turned them into a positive aspect in your life. Was there a time where maybe you were more the victim, but then there was a switch that flipped and you're like, you know what, maybe this victim mentality isn't serving me. I'm going to go in this direction. Or were you this positive about it all the time?
Well, again, I think it was normal to me. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Nobody educated me that I was a victim. Right. I thought it was normal. I thought everyone's parents were like that. As I got a little bit older, I started to realize other parents were a little bit more loving and, whatnot, but that's about it. So I've never really looked at it like a victim. Personally, I'm glad I grew up the way I grew up, because I believe that's why I'm the way I am. I'm very resourceful. I can survive anywhere. I can do anything. And I believe it because of the years of figuring it out for myself. And I think it builds confidence and self-worth to where you're not afraid. And most people are afraid. They're afraid to take a risk. They're afraid to make a move. And I think it serves me well to be a risk taker and a move maker. And I credit my dad for that. Again, I know my dad loved me, even though he probably never said it. I can't think of one time he ever said, I love you, or hugged me, really. He wasn't a big hugger. He was an independent individual himself, but most times he was just tired. But if someone said, do you think your dad loved you? Well, of course he did. We were his kids. If he didn't love us, he wouldn't have put up with all the shit we put him through. But at the end of the day, some people are affectionate and better at showing love and affection and emotion than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And that just perfect segue into your life now. So you have 6 kids, right?
Total of 6. Yes.
Total of 6. And so what are the age ranges we got here?
I have a 5, a 7, a 24, a 26, a 32, no, a 33, and a 34.
34. How old are you?
52.
Man, you seriously, man, you look young. Like, I'm not just saying that. Like, I didn't, when you said 30 something, I was like, what? Now, granted, you got started a little younger, right? But at the same time, man, that is a huge stretch of ages. And so let's think about that age range, right? 5 to, you said 30, what?
3.
33. So that is
no, 35. She's 35.
35 years old. Okay. So had your first kid at 17.
That's right.
So let's talk about the last, 35 years of being a father. What were some things that you learned early on that changed the game for you as a father, as you obviously had more kids?
Well, the first 2, I didn't really get to raise. I was irresponsible. I made all the mistakes a parent can make. And then when I finally did get to be a father, it was when they were like 14, 15 years old, and I wanted to be their friend more than their parent. So I literally allowed them to pretty much do anything. I'm the one that probably turned them on to most things. Rap music, nothing like drugs or anything, but, I was very irresponsible. I basically was kind of like my dad. So the second set, I got a little wiser, but I was still a little lax when it came to realizing that they were listening to what I was saying. They were watching what I was doing. The 2 I have now, they're the ones where I would say I'm a great dad. Now I'm a great dad. So I kind of got 3 chances to get it right. The first chance, I blew it. I didn't take responsibility. When I did get responsibility, I was immature and irresponsible. I was young. So,
You're a kid yourself.
Yeah. I can blame it on that. But at the end of the day, it's if I could do it all over again, I would have taken responsibility, and I would have spent more time, and I would have, let's say, paid my dues. I was very irresponsible. The second set, I think I did a much better job. However, I was still a little bit lenient. Like if I wanted to go see a movie, an R-rated movie, that, they're 4 or 5 years old, I'd take them with me. What's the movie going to teach them that society's not going to teach them? I was very stupid in that regard. Now with my 2 little girls, now I'm Mr. Father. Now I'm Mr. Protector. And I realize that I'm a parent more so than I'm a friend. I think you can have a blend, and obviously my little girls love me to death. But when it comes to protecting them and educating them and teaching them how to really function in life, that's what's most important. They don't need to like me. My first set, I had to have them like me. I didn't see them until they were 14 much, you know what I mean? So I wanted to be their buddy. I wanted to be their hero, so I let them do whatever. Totally foolish. I think there's a happy blend in there. Right now my kids love me. I think I've perfected it, but the first and foremost nowadays is a parent more than a friend.
Yeah. And as you reflect upon these little girls, right, and raising strong, confident young women, what are some things that are really on your mind and heart that you want to teach them?
Well, ultimately, just again, to not fear people or not fear strangers, to love themselves, to have confidence in themselves, to not worry about what other people think of them as much. I teach them to be independent. I teach them to, be creative and resourceful. And ultimately, I teach them to be kind. That's the main thing. Just be a good person.
Yeah, it's just at the very core, like we want to raise good human beings, right?
Yeah, like every Christmas, I make them pick 2 of their toys and give them away. So the first couple Christmases, they didn't like that much. Yeah. Now that they start to open their toys and pick which ones they want to give to people. And it's like, less fortunate. So they're starting to be, you know, kinder individuals.
That's cool.
I still haven't figured out how to get them to get along with each other at times, but you know, outward, they're doing great.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I've got 4 boys. So, you know, they're almost 15, 13, 7. My 5-year-old turned 5 today as we're recording this.
Oh, right on.
And yeah, if I could learn that one too, that'd be great, because my house is like WWE Tag Team Wrestling from time to time. Like it's crazy house here sometimes.
Yeah. So, someone needs to write a book about that. How do you make siblings get along very well?
Yeah. If we could figure that one out, it'd be great. Let's talk about marriage real quick. And then I want to get to your book and all the good stuff in there. So how many times have you been married?
2.
And one thing that we talk about a lot on this podcast is, if you think about like anything that we do, I just did some research. It takes 990 hours to be a cop, right? 990 hours to be a cop.
Be a cop?
Be a cop. Yeah, I've training.
That's true.
Hey, look at that. Were you a cop?
Police officer.
Shoot, man. Look at that. Police.
1 hour.
1 hour?
Yeah, I did a 1 hour keynote in a small town, and turns out the mayor was listening. And my dream when I was young was to be a cop. So she came up and deputized me and swore me in and made me a police officer. You mean it takes 990 to be a real cop?
If you go to the school of Brad and being a police officer, you can do it in an hour. So he's got an online course for that. But no, all kidding aside, that's how much training, you know, that these guys really log to become a police officer. But when it comes to marriage, like, think about it. We all walk down the aisle. We say our I do's. Like, we get a pat on the back from the relatives and friends, like, oh man, best time of your whole life. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. Right. And yet it's constant learning on the job, training, relationship, and everything else. And some of us feel like we're banging our head up against the wall. But what are some things you've learned about how to operate within your marriage?
You know, I'm still learning, obviously, but you know, at the end of the day, to be inclusive, a lot of times, you know, we tend to forget that they're our partner. So to be inclusive, to remain dating if you can, and ultimately, you know, the trust and communication is the backbone of any relationship. So if you can't, you know, build that trust and have that communication, you know, I'd highly recommend either getting counseling or getting someone you can. A lot of people like you would recommend someone get divorced. I believe in divorce. Like, in other words, I would rather have kids experience 2 happy houses than 1 miserable one. Like, I don't believe you should stay married just for kids. I think in a lot of cases you should get divorced for kids, because otherwise you're going to teach them, especially if you have daughters, you know, what's normal. And it's not normal. It's not normal to be unhappy. It's not normal to settle for less. It's not normal to distrust someone that you're in a relationship with. It's not normal to allow, you know, poor treatment of yourself. So a lot of people don't agree with me on that, but I've already, you know, prefaced that with get counseling. But at some point in time, I think kids would be better off in 2 happy houses than 1 miserable.
I agree with you on that one. You know, I think you should obviously do whatever it takes to make your marriage work if both parties are willing. But I do believe that there are irreconcilable differences. And when people settle and they say, you know, we just got to stay together for the kids. And when you talk to adult children who grew up in a house like that, they don't know how to even operate in their marriage, because they're like, I never really, like, my parents weren't affectionate with each other. They hated each other. Like, there was so much tension and animosity in the air at all times. Like, and because of that, I'm not exactly sure how to operate on my own. And, you know, my mom was married 3 times. There were men constantly in and out between those marriages. I'll never forget, from the time I was 4 until the time I was 10, my stepfather, good guy, heavy drinker. And it was every year that they were married, it was just progressively worse. And by the time I was 10, they got divorced and he left. And I have never seen him since. There was a part of me that I felt like I lost something big in my life. But at the same time, there was a sense of like, man, I'm glad that's over. Like, even at 10, like, I was like, I won't have to hear them. I won't wake up in the middle of the night hearing them fight anymore. I won't see them, my dad's on the couch, my mom's in the bedroom, like all these things that they say to each other. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Again, me and you are few and far between. Most people, they don't understand that part. They think, hey, we got to stick to it, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Ideally, but not necessarily. I mean, I've coached a friend of mine to overlook some promiscuity to stay with the kids. I've coached friends of mine to stay together and in some cases divorce. Now, it's all based on, what's really going on. So, I mean, it's the same advice doesn't work for everybody. I think if you're in a relationship where there's trust and there's communication, then you work on it, right? The insecurity is what causes the cheating. I used to think to myself, man, I can't get any more girls. What if I don't still have it? And a lot of times I'd go out and flirt and want that attention because I was insecure. See what I'm saying? So people in a relationship where there's flirting and there's cheating and there's, alcohol fueled rages, you're not being a good dad just because you're staying in a relationship. That's bad dad. The right dad would respect himself and his wife and or partner and their children and do what's best for each, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, it makes total sense.
Most people just bullshit you. They'll get on here and be like, "Oh, you got to stay together." That's not real advice. That's not real life.
I agree. I'm not a proponent of actively looking for divorce without exactly what you said, without attempting solutions first, counseling, marital coaching, somewhere, some way to get some help, to get a point in the right direction. Because sometimes the problems that fester into huge issues later, they started out with probably things that were super small and things that were overlooked and that probably could have been taken care of early on. And unfortunately, a lot of people out there, a lot of couples out there, well, if I get counseling, then obviously something's wrong with us. We're broken. We shouldn't have to do that. Nothing's further from the truth. If we want to build a business like you have, it makes total sense to hire a coach, right? Hey, you've already paved the way. Like, help me get there too. And the same thing with our relationships.
100%. Seek information,
Yeah.
When you say, what would I say at 18? When I say read books, that's seek information, seek counsel, get that information. See, there's a lot of people out there that they're not happy with what they have or where they are. And they don't understand, if you're not happy with what you have, then you have to change what you're doing, because the reason you have what you have is because you're doing what you're doing. Right now, in order to change what you're doing, you literally have to change what you believe. Your beliefs are why you have the habits and make the decisions you make, which is why you are where you are and you have what you have. So if someone says, I'm not happy where I'm at, well, then you have to change what you're doing. And in order to do that, you have to change what you believe. And in order to change what you believe, you have to enter new information into the equation. You cannot have new beliefs with the same information. So knowing that, seek information. If I'm having trouble in my marriage, I'm going to go seek counseling before I just end it. But if I walk in and she's having an orgy with 3 people, I'm not getting counseling. There's nothing that can counsel me through that.
Right.
Like I'm all done with that. That's just me. Like infidelity, I won't tolerate it.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. At the end of the day, you only get what you tolerate.
Absolutely.
If you tolerate it, then don't complain about it. Because most people complain about their lives when they're the ones tolerating their life. They're tolerating the shit in their life they're not happy with. They're tolerating it. You're a big fat ass. You're tolerating that condition. You're in a poor relationship. You're tolerating, the disrespect. And by the way, a lot of times you're the one being disrespectful. So I'm not talking to you. You need to go get some freaking counsel, learn how to be a freaking nicer individual. But I'm talking about people that stay in relationships that just aren't good. They're not, there's no communication, there's no love, there's no trust, there's no respect, and they just stay there. Why? Because deep down in their mind, they don't think they deserve a better relationship. They don't deserve love. They don't deserve respect. They literally are right where they should be, according to them. And that's the people that I try to reach out to, because listen, everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves to be in a good relationship. And a good relationship is based on communication and trust. Respect. You have to. And by the way, like, people get old together. I know a friend of mine that married the high school sweetheart. Well, now when we go see them, they're both old, right? My wife is 33. I think she's 33. She's going to kill me for not knowing. But
we'll edit that.
I go to high school reunions. I'm sitting there with this gorgeous little young wife, and all my friends that got married early are with these older women. Well, they're envious of me and everyone else because they're with someone that's older. Well, guess what? Like, you have to, that's why I said you got to continue to date those people. Just because they're older doesn't make them, less attractive. What makes them less attractive is you're no longer talking. You're no longer, keeping the marriage fresh. You're no longer dating each other. And so what you want to blame is the fact that they look a little bit older. And again, obviously some people, they like younger than older, and some people like older than younger, but barring just physical appearance, work on the relationship, figure out what, is lacking, and you'll start to see trust, communication, and respect is what's lacking. And in order to fix that, you need to fix yourself first. Most people try to fix their relationship before they fix themselves. And it's like my grandpa used to say, it's like wiping your ass with a hula hoop. The shit continues to go around and it never ends. Well, the reason it's never ending is because you're not fixing the problem. And the problem is inside you. It's not your spouse, it's you.
I love the fact that you brought up dating your spouse, because I think a lot of us, my wife and I, we've been married it'll be 18 years this year. I've known her for 25 years. We met when she was 18 in college. And man, I love that woman more now than I ever have. And she would tell you the same. But the thing that we've done, and we didn't always do it, but we have been very intentional about it for the past 5 to 6 years. And that is constantly being curious and dating each other and asking each other different questions to get to know her, and she get to know me over and over and over again, to where, and we put a lot of effort into doing that. And I think for the most part, a lot of people just get really lazy, and then they label the relationship, oh, it just is what it is, I guess, and automatic pilot, I'm on the drift. So yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up.
Unfortunately, that's why most people end in divorce. If you think about it, marriage isn't really a good proposition in the first place. They say 60% end in divorce, the other 40% end in death.
Actually, there are some statistics out there now that the married couples that stay together live in one of 3 camps. And they're literally divided up into 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So 1/3 of marriages that stay together can actually identify their relationship is working and it's happy and it's what they want it to be. The next camp, the next 1/3 is it's all right, I guess. It'll work, I guess. It's kind of boring, but whatever. It's too hard to break up. And then the final camp is they're miserable. They hate each other. They probably barely speak to each other. Lucky if they sleep in the same bedroom. And they're just waiting for the kids to move out. So it's kind of crazy.
A sad state, man.
It is. Well, let's do this, man. Let's get to your book, The Hard Way, Lessons I've Learned So You Don't Have to. You have this really cool image of a rhino on the cover. And I see that rhino, by the way, for you guys who are watching us on YouTube, I see the rhino over there. What does the rhino symbolize?
Just being, hard to stop, unstoppable. I should have been out of business a million times. I should have been a blue collar, regular Joe, definitely not a multimillionaire, definitely not an influencer, definitely not someone that, has people like Tony Robbins and all these big names in my phone and I could FaceTime them. And, I definitely shouldn't be where I'm at. And I should have been stopped, but I'm just unstoppable. And so a long time ago, I just identified with the rhino because it looks like a tank. And I'm not necessarily certain that will be the book cover. I just said, I want the book cover to kind of show, pain and suffering and, tenacity and grit and determination. So they just came up with the rhino because obviously I'm into rhinos. I've even got, tattoos of rhinos, but
yeah, look at that.
At the end of the day, the book is about lessons I've learned along the way that you're going to learn. You may have already learned. They're not questionable. They're universal, meaning these are lessons I've learned the hard way. So you don't have to, because if you don't read my book, you will learn the same lessons. The question is how much are you going to spend learning? How much time, how much money, how much pain are you going to spend to learn the same things? And so I tell basically stories of my life where I learned lessons the hard way, and I'm sharing them so other people don't have to. If an 18-year-old kid picks up my book, I guarantee I'll shave 10, 15 years off their life or their journey of success, meaning I'll accelerate your ability to succeed with this book for sure. Even if you're 50 or 60 or 70, you may still have not learned. A lot of times, dude, it took me 4 or 5 times getting smacked in the head to learn something. And there's people out there that they don't learn for some reason. So I wrote the book, just shared lessons of my life that I think are going to really help people turn their life around and or accelerate. Because some of them are on the right path, but they, like patience, they believe in patience. Patience isn't necessarily something that you should want. Now, in certain cases, patience comes in quite handy, but in most cases, especially when it comes to building a life that you really, really, really want, patience has no place in it.
Yeah. So let's talk about one key lesson that's your favorite. And I'm not sure if the patience one is that particular lesson, but let's talk about just one of your favorite lessons in that book.
One of my favorite lessons is to be yourself, authenticity. 6 years old, I'd run around telling everybody that my dad was rich when we weren't. And I was too stupid to realize that they could tell. I'd tell them we own Disneyland, and I'd show them, Monopoly cards to prove we own property. I was trying to fit in with all the other kids. Weirdly enough, we lived on a hill surrounded by nice houses, but we lived in this little shitty house. Now, when I told you my dad became entrepreneurial, we built that house into a big, nice house, but then we lost it. But the weirdest thing, growing up, I lived in a little house surrounded by big houses up on this hill. The neighbor owned a chain of grocery stores. The neighbor across the street was a doctor. Someone, the Richards down here, I forget what he did, but he was rich. The people to the left was rich. You had to get to the bottom of the hill before it became like middle class. So it was weird that we were up there, but all the kids from the neighbors' houses were all, well-to-do rich kids. I called them Beaver Cleaver family. So I just lied my ass off to fit in with them, and it backfired. Nobody wanted to pick me for sports. Nobody wanted to play. The neighbors, the parents didn't want them to hang out with me because I was basically known as a liar. And it literally destroyed like 3 years of my life. 3 summers I was an outcast. And so eventually we moved about 30 miles north to another town. And I used that opportunity to say, I'm resetting. Like, I'm going to own who I am. I'm going to tell the freaking truth, no matter what it costs me. I'm going to tell the truth about who I am. I mean, obviously we all lie, in certain times. I'm talking about, about who I am, where I'm from, what I have, where am I? So I started telling the truth. And that was the strongest lesson ever. There's so many people out there that are trying to be something they're not, and or they're afraid to be who they are in fear of judgment of others. So if there's one most valuable lesson, it was that, be yourself. That's when you will find true happiness. You're never going to make everybody happy. You know what I mean? And once you realize you cannot make everybody happy, well, then you have to choose who are you going to make happy. This side of the family or this side of the family, this side of the fence or this side of the fence. And pretty soon you start to realize you're never going to make everyone happy. So you might as well just make yourself happy. And then you'll be taught by some people on this side or this side that that's selfish. That's selfish. Well, no, it's not necessarily selfish. Someone else will tell you it is. Someone else will tell you it isn't. This is my point. With all this noise and wrong lessons, if you just be yourself, own who you are, and make yourself happy, dude, you're going to live a much more happy and fulfilled life, for sure. Guaranteed. It might take you a minute. It might take you a minute to weed through the individuals that will come and go. But trust me when I tell you, if you do that, you're going to attract the people that should be around you and repel the people that shouldn't. And you're going to end up in a happy place.
When it comes to being authentic and just really owning some of our shortcomings and our flaws, how might we best do that without it sabotaging us?
Well, number one, you got to make a commitment to do so, because otherwise it can backfire. But what I do is I talk about basically you spend some alone time and you get real with yourself. You start out by forgiving yourself for all the bullshit and the procrastination and the nonsense you've put yourself through and others. Just forgive yourself. Everyone deserves a second chance. Wipe the slate clean. Number two, you got to commit to do what you say you're going to do. Okay, period. There is no other way. If you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Number three, you rack up the wins. You have to replace all of those memories, all those years of lies, cheats, steals, letdowns. You have to replace them. You can't delete them. So you have to replace them. So you set small goals every day and you rack up the wins. So your mind gets used to you winning on a regular basis. You win every single day. You win. The mind doesn't understand the difference between a huge win and a little win. It just knows the difference between a win and a loss. So at the end of the day, did you win or did you lose? Some people are taught to set these big expectations, these big goals. I'm going to make $1 million this month, and you make $950. $950 is a loss, brother. If you said you were going to make $1 million and you didn't, that's a loss. So you want to replace those losses with wins. Rack up the wins on a regular basis. All you do to do that, set 5 to 10 small goals every single day that you will achieve before you go to bed. Number four, you get rid of the idiots. Like, you weed out all the negative people. Listen, a friend is someone who supports you and encourages you and is there for you. Friends do not make fun of you. Friends do not discourage you and question you. Now, that gets tough because, we grow up with people and it's like we don't necessarily want them out of our life. But again, you commit, you rack up the wins, and you get rid of all negative people, including yourself. You stop that negative talk about yourself. And then step 5, you visualize and get clarity on who you are, what you believe, what you want in your life, like specific clarity. So many times I've asked people, what do you think success is? And they're like, they don't really know what success looks like. They know in general, but they don't know specifically. Now, if I sent you into a room with 1,000 people and said, go find this person, wouldn't you want to know what they look like? Mm-hmm. Most people don't know what it looks like. So I say, slow down and start mapping out what that looks like. And then every day seek that knowledge to change that mind, to change those habits. If you do those 6 things on a regular basis, I guarantee you will start to feel better about yourself. And it's crazy too, because when you forgive yourself, you kind of feel a little bit of relief, like, okay, this slight little relief, like, hey, I get a second chance. Okay, good. Now commit to do what you say you're going to do. You start doing that 30, 60, 90 days later, just doing what you say you're going to do, you're going to start to feel a little bit better. You're going to start to feel like you deserve a little bit more. And you do. And you'll start to be a little bit upset about where you're living and who you're with and who you hang around. And you'll start to question people about how they're talking to you. And then people will be like, oh, are you cool now? What are you too cool for us? Those are the idiots that are identifying themselves. So you got to get rid of them. All of this is easy and simple, but it's not, it's hard. Why? These are the people we love. These are the people we're used to. Not to mention, deep down in our subconscious, we don't think we deserve any better. So this is something that you do consistently. And then pretty soon you start to walk a little taller, feel like you deserve a little bit more. And then those people start popping up. So you start weeding them out. You start getting clarity and focus of what you want. Again, this is consistent. This doesn't happen tomorrow. And then you start seeking new information, 60, 90, 120 days later, your whole mindset's different. You literally changed the belief you have in yourself, and you start to actually feel different. You actually value yourself. And as soon as you start to value yourself, your whole world becomes more valuable.
Man, I'm glad we chose that one lesson, because that was gold, my friend. I really like that. Last question I have for you. Can you share a system or some structure that you have around that. So like in Brad's world, as it relates to like these small wins, and the big theme I got from you too was consistency. Is there things that you do, tactics in your daily life that you're like, come hell or high water, I do these things because it sets me up for the success that you're talking about?
Yeah, 100%. It happens every morning. I wake up with the understanding that waking up is more valuable than, to me, any amount of money, right? I ask people, if I just handed you $1 million cash, what would you do? Give me some adjectives. Describe how you'd feel. And boy, their eyes light up and they start to imagine $1 million free dollars. They start, oh, I'd be pumped up. I'd be excited. I'd be relieved. You can't imagine all the positive, light that shines from them when you say that. And so every morning I wake up, I realize that I'd rather wake up than get $1 million. So by just waking up is more valuable than $1 million or $10 million. So that instantly puts me in gratitude. Gratitude is a magical ingredient that most people don't understand. But if you are grateful, I think that is the most critical part. So every morning I wake up, I had to train myself to do it. I put a sign on my wall that said, congratulations, you get another day. And as soon as I opened my eyes, I'd be stretching out, starting to think, oh, I got to go to work. And then I'd look, you get another day. And I'd be like, and then a smile would come on my face. And now I get to go to work and I get to deal with my problems. So it shifts your perspective instantly when you wake up with that kind of gratitude. And then I focus on 4 things. Number 1, my health. Why? Well, because, dude, without your health, you're screwed big time. You'd give all your money for your health. You just don't know it until it's too late. So trust me, I focus on my health. How do I do that? I work out an hour every morning. I just get the blood pumping. I don't really care if someone's sitting there going, well, you can afford a gym. Dude, you can run in place. You can literally walk around your block. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You can do leg lifts. There's no freaking reason you can't focus on your health every morning, no matter what financial situation you're in. So you focus on your health every single morning. You eat one decent meal, at least one. Okay. Then I focus on my relationships. I write down 5 or 10 people who I'm going to reach out to and tell them I love them, tell them I appreciate them, tell them I miss them, whatever the case may be, because what you focus on grows, right? And what you neglect literally withers away and disappears. So if you understand the value of relationships, because relationships is the new currency, relationships is like the new economy. Every big deal, every $1 million I've made came from a relationship. So relationships are the key. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. So every day I focus on 5 or 10 relationships to build them and strengthen them. And then 3rd, I focus on my money. Every single day I write down 5 things that I can do today to drive revenue. Why? Because money's important. When I started focusing on money, money started to come. Most people, they're taught not to focus on money. That's selfish. That's not good. Money's the root of all evil, blah, 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 blah. And that's bullshit. Okay. Money is powerful. You want money. You want a lot of money. You want disgusting amounts of money. If you're a good person, it's only going to make you a better person. It's not going to ruin a good person. I always tell people, dude, if money made you an asshole, you were an asshole before. Then 3rd, I'll focus on seeking knowledge. I'll pick up a book or open a Audible or a podcast every single morning for at least 30 minutes. And I just want to get new information in my head. Because I understand you cannot change your beliefs if you don't get new information. If you only have the same information you had yesterday, you will not change your beliefs at all. And if you don't change your beliefs, you're not going to change your habits and your decisions. And if you don't change your habits and your decisions, you're not going to change what you're getting. And I'm smart enough to realize I want more. Well, then I have to do different things. I can't do the same thing and expect different results. So I seek information. So if anybody's writing this down, I call it the $1 million morning. I wake up with the gratitude that I got more than $1 million because I did. And that instantly puts my perspective in the right place. Now everything's an opportunity, not a challenge. I don't feel, I'm depressed. I got to deal with rent. I got to deal with bills. Dude, I get to deal with rent. If somebody was getting kicked out of their house and they woke up and they realized, hey, I can kill you, or you can go deal with getting kicked out of your house. Most people are like, dude, I'd love to get kicked out of my house today. Please just let me live. And so once people realize, they just shift their perspective. instantly by just realizing you just got a gift more valuable than $1 million freaking dollars, bro. So gratitude, focus on your health, focus on your relationships, focus on your money, and focus on your knowledge, your mind. Focus on those 4 things every single morning. And that will start to also build confidence. You'll start to become a little bit more knowledgeable. You'll start to shift your beliefs. You'll start to grow as a human being, and you'll start to reach that potential that everybody has. And I think that's really where fulfillment comes from, is reaching potential. You know, I think happiness is a choice. You just choose to be happy, right? You can choose to be happy in any situation. You ever heard about those 2 kids? One was a rich kid, one was a poor kid. So they put both of them in a room full of shit. And after an hour, they came back and the rich kid was pissed, sitting in the corner. The poor kid was playing in it, throwing it around. It was unbelievable. They walked in, they asked the little wealthy kid, you know, what's the problem? He said, what do you mean? You put me in a room full of shit. What do you think the problem is? Go to the poor kid and they say, hey, what are you so happy about? Little kid says, with all this shit, there has to be a pony in here somewhere. Same situation, 2 different. One's happy, one's pissed. That's a choice. Happiness is a choice, folks. You can choose to be happy in the same situation you're in right now. So happiness is not what you're looking for. You choose happiness. Fulfillment is what you're looking for. And I think fulfillment comes through reaching our potential, growth and reaching our potential. And unfortunately, we reach our potential by having access to things, you know, culture, art, travel, people, experts, you know. And unfortunately, that takes money. That's why one of the things you focus on, folks, is money. Get rich. Quit letting people believe that getting rich is not that important. Yes, it is important. It's very important. You can be a better dad if you're rich. Ooh, I just said it. Yeah, and I totally believe it too. You know, what if your little kid gets some sort of disease that you can't afford the right health care and they pass? What if you can't afford to get them the right things in life because you were focused on something else? You just wanted to be a really good dad. You know, guess what? You can be a really good dad being rich as hell. And I think you can be a better dad. Why? Because money amplifies who you are. If you're a good dad broke, dude, you're going to be a better dad rich. Put that in the motherfucking bank. Hey, by the way, I went the whole time without an F-bomb. Let me take that part back. Edit that.
Good, man.
Put that in the bank.
Hey, man, this has been awesome. Brad, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing your childhood. Obviously, I love the fact that you gave us a good snapshot on how you operate on a daily basis. I just actually put in for a pre-order for your book. I expect it to be signed in blood, if you don't mind. I'll give you my shipping address. But honestly, man, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you even being interested in having me on. I hope I provided some value to your listeners, and I hope at least one person dodged a bullet because of this interview.
Hey, that's the plan. If we can help one person, shift the course of their life, that's what this show is all about, man. So thank you for coming on. Appreciate you very much.
My pleasure.